What is up, guys? The Strong Boys 19 here, and welcome back to the Black Sabbath discography. So, I am really looking forward to complete the last few albums for me to complete this legendary band's discography. So, for this video, I'm going to be going into the band's 15th studio album entitled TYR. So TYR is the second album in the I.R.S. Records label for Black Sabbath, the first one being Headless Cross, and Headless Cross came out previously a year before this album in the late 1980s. So, with TYR, I personally see that this is really one of the most underappreciated Sabbath albums in their entire discography, because I don't see a lot of people go into a proper opinion or in-depth discussion about this album, because they would either ignore this album or just to go back into Headless Cross or The Eternal Idol, or maybe one of the earlier Sabbath albums, maybe with the periods from Ozzy or Dio, or maybe Glenn Hughes. But TYR is, in my opinion, one of these albums that definitely deserves a lot of chances. It's so underappreciated. This is the first Sabbath album to have Neil Murray on the bass guitar, because on previous albums, Iommi had worked on albums with different bass players, like Dave Spitz to Lawrence Cottle. Now Neil Murray joins with Sabbath, and he remains as Sabbath's next bass player before they have disbanded until 13 came out a few years ago. This album musically is totally different to what you have heard on the previous album, because Headless Cross has really one of the darkest and doomiest, moody sounding atmospheric sounds of songwriting that Iommi had done. I would say technically this is really the second Tony Martin Black Sabbath album, because The Eternal Idol, Martin wasn't really present at that time because Ray Gillan came in first before Martin stepped in. So the lyrics that Martin wrote for this album deals with some of that satanic imagery, but a lot of it on mythology. And at one point, Iommi had told Martin to, take it down, like calm it down. These lyrics of the mythology, I think, fits this style. When I listen to this album, I see some of the tracks have some symphonic power metal-ish, in my opinion at least. An album that is so consistent with Jeff Nichols' keyboards. Nichols did a really, really good job. He brought the sound for this album more life, and some of the songs are really, really good. A lot of energy, and some of them as melodic as some of the previous works. Some of my favorites on here include the opening track called Anno Mundi, which for some reason, the vocal harmonies, every time I hear them, it reminds me of, John Anderson's high-pitched vocal harmony style. Anno Mundi is a really good track. Its progression grows stronger and better with these powerful vocals, and the riffs on the other songs from Iommi's playing intriguing. One of my other favorites is The Lawmaker, which is another very great pummeling song to Jerusalem, and it's one of the songs that has a lot of that very nice and luscious feel to it. Some people say that TYR was like a bit of a concept album, but Neil Murray had, dismissed that, because there's a few songs in the later half that is a bit of like a medley. Battle of TYR to Valhalla, so 3 separate tracks into this little medley. The only song that was totally different to the rest of the whole album entirely is the track Feels Good to Me, and that is like very, very different, a bit of a commercial poppy kind of sound, but I personally think that it fits this whole theme for this album. But other than that, I think Iommi's guitar work on here was really, really good. Love his guitar solos as usual. TYR is one of these albums that was pretty much unfairly, mixed response, because I think it's a record that has some great instrumentation, and the production was good on here as well. Cozy's drumming was awesome. There was a little bit of criticism about the drums being a bit too high from the production that overpowers the guitar tones and the keyboard sounds and everything else, but it just doesn't really bother me. But I think that the production of TYR is a better style of production than Headless Cross, but I do like Headless Cross's sound, especially with its dark atmospheres and the way that the music delivers in that kind of sound. But TYR is a totally different sounding album to the rest of Black Sabbath albums in the Tony Martin period. That is really all I have to say about TYR by Black Sabbath. I think it is a very, very good album. Some strong melodies, beautiful song vocals. The keyboard sounds from Nichols really shines through. I will have to say that I'm going to give TYR by Black Sabbath an 8 out of 10. And I know that's pretty high, but I think it is one of my personal favorites in the later half of Black Sabbath. So let me know what you think of TYR in the comments below. Just got a few more albums left to do, guys. Stay tuned for those to come. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.